In the heart of most small businesses, a monster lurks, pieced together with the best intentions. Maybe it's a scheduling app. Maybe it's a makeshift CRM. Maybe it's a somewhat useful customer acquisition system. But before you know it, by accident and haphazardly, what have you created? Frankenstein. Frankenstein of business systems. Hey there, small business owners, entrepreneurs, executives, and whoever else is watching this video. I'm Steph. I've been an advisor to CEOs and executives and small business owners for probably about 20 years. Yeah, it's been a while. For the past couple of decades, I've been where you're at. And in some cases, I still am, building Frankenstein type of systems in my business. And now we're staring down at a creation that is barely under control. And let alone under control, it's not systemizable, it's not duplicatable, it's pretty much a by accident system or workflow within our organization. But what if I told you that there's a way to turn these things around? Make it easier, effortless, and maybe just more fun. Stick around and I'm going to show you just how to do that. I don't want to sugarcoat it for you. If we left these kinds of systems unchecked, this Franken system so-called, it doesn't just stumble around. It rampages through our entire business, devouring our time, our money, and worst of all, our sanity. Mismanaged processes slowly and perpetually start to sink our business, whether we like it or not, and whether we're aware of it or not. And by the way, it's not just sinking our business, it also draining us so much. Let's face it, our Franken systems are a bit monstrous. They're inefficient, impossible to replicate, and a nightmare to scale. It's like being stuck in a horror movie where the plot just keeps thickening and getting worse and worse with zero heroes in sight. The solution is a lot easier than you think. Deceptively easy, actually. Formal processes and systems and workflows are not that difficult to put into place, but we just don't do it. And why is that? Well, it's because we have too many hats on as business owners, and we end up creating all these small little systems to capture the fire or to put out the fire that is happening in that specific moment, and then let it run and get busy on something else later on and forget about this whole system that was built. And this is how we start to build Franken systems. Structuring your business operations is the easiest, most funnest way of growing and scaling your business. And a lot of people just don't do it because they're just too busy trying to manage what they've put in place already. Transforming your business systems is not a complete overhaul overnight. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some planning. It's going to take some thinking and some organization. Let me walk you through it. So the very first step that you need to do is identify the system that you want to fix. Maybe it's inventory. Maybe it's scheduling. Maybe it's accounting. Maybe it's the way that you process paperwork through your organization. Or maybe it's just something else like your entire customer acquisition system is not functional. Or if it's functional, you don't know what makes it function. So I suggest, let's just take a look at your customer acquisition system. The system that gets you customers again and again. Well, should get you customers again and again. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into 7+ figure type of businesses, smaller businesses, and find that the customer acquisition system is basically by accident, non-existent in terms of a system. It's something that they're not able to measure, they're not able to scale, they're not able to improve, they don't understand the efficiency of it. Maybe you yourself are going through that right now within your organization. Maybe you haven't even stopped to think about it because customers are coming in. But the question is it something, or have you systemized in such a way that allows you to be able to take this entire business and transfer it to someone else? Or to sell it as an asset? Most people can't. Most small businesses can't. And usually I end up talking to them at this point because what they're thinking about is business is starting to get serious. And now that what they want to do is they want to make sure that it's something that is investable, something that is scalable, something that's growable, but they can't really make that happen. And frankly, their business system, especially their customer acquisition system, sounds like or looks like it's Frankenstein with severe ADHD. They can't tell me what channel brings in most people, how frequent it is, the customer segment is, whether it's ABC or customers. They don't know what an LTV value is, the lifetime value per client is. They don't know where the customer flow is coming from. Basically, they have a system that brings in clients on an ad hoc basis. So step one is to identify the system. Step two is to start to take this system apart. Look at every business, every part of the system itself. See if it was made by accident or on purpose. Regardless of what it was, every system has a start, a middle, and an end. Ask yourself, what's the very first thing that happens in my system? It could be that a referral comes in from a customer. It could be that advertising goes out. It could be that a social media post is written. It could be that they land on your website. The very first step. Now, within this, you need to find out what the very next step is as well. And in order to do that, what you have to do is ask yourself, and then what? Now, in step two, you should find all the channels of the incoming and outgoing, or either coming in or going out. What I mean by channels is, like I said, there's referral channels, there's advertising channels. We're still talking about customer acquisition. So you got to figure out all the channels if you want. Pick the one channel that you want to work on. Pick one only. Okay. All too many business owners, I find that they try to do everything all at the same time and then fail miserably and then just don't do anything and then just stick with the status quo. So we're going to be a lot smarter than that. And what we're going to do is we're going to pick one. And in this case, like I said, as an example, I'm going to pick out customer acquisition. And for me, I'm going to tell you what I did wrong. Okay. I'll tell you about my customer acquisition for years and years and years. For my business, I realized for about 15 years, all my business was coming from referrals. Most people say that's good. And for the lazy people, yeah, that's me. It is good. But here's the major issue. The flow of traffic to my business only happened when I did certain things, and I had to do those certain things. So it wasn't as consistent and persistent as I wanted. And because I had to do certain things in order for that to happen, to engage the referral, then guess what? If I'm not there, there is no referrals. See what I mean? So in my case, I'd go out to my clients, friends, colleagues, and ask to be introduced to people. Okay. I even created a whole system. I called it the connector strategy. Some of you that have worked with me know what that is. And it's not that this strategy doesn't work. It works very, very well. And it works very well for high paid type of service businesses, as well as other kinds of businesses. The problem, once again, is it has some flaws in it. Now, even though that strategy worked for me, I didn't have control over the flow, and I wanted to have consistent, steady stream of clients. And in order for that to happen, I'd have to consistently be prospecting, like daily. But like most people, this is what I did. And I would put in a bunch of effort, and then I'd get a bunch of clients, close a bunch of business, then just coast. Easy, right? Problem is, as you coast, there's nothing else coming in on the front end. And guess what? As this starts going away, like the projects start coming to a close, people maybe they change their mind or whatever it is, this goes down and this is in a deficit. This being the front end of the customer acquisition flow. Wasn't there. Not a very effective strategy, especially if you're building a 7+ figure business, because there's a lot of volume and a lot of different things that could potentially happen because you need a lot of volume and a lot of consistency. And there's a lot of things that could end up happening to put a glitch into that system. So like I said, not a very effective strategy the way that I was running it. Because if I ever wanted to sell my business, I couldn't, because I'd have to sell myself with it. Pass it down my kids, I couldn't. I guess I can. I would have to teach them a little bit, but the truth is it's not very effective. And so now I'm moving my business into a legacy mode. So I'm passing it down to my kids. So I have to resystemize everything. As you can see, my Franken-monster was somewhat functional as long as I pushed it along. Come on, little Franken-monster. Come on. The moment I stopped pushing my Franken-monster along, my system of customer acquisition wouldn't work anymore. So it wasn't very functional. So how do you do this second step? Like, where does it start? I'll tell you where it starts. You find the first part of your current system. So in my case, it was going out and talking to people that knew me, liked me, and trusted me, and said, introduce me to more people that would benefit from my services. And that's what they would do. And then the other part of my system would kick in, which was my conversion part of that customer acquisition system. And that one was a good system because I'm good at serving people and finding the gap between where they're at, where they want to be, and how I could help them fill it with my services. So I was really good at that. So there was almost like this problem around the idea that it's a good system because the conversions were so good, but the front end lead flow wasn't, right? So what you want to do is you want to start with your first part and then ask yourself, and then what happens? So like I said, in my case, I'd go out, but make a list of all my friends that knew me, like me, and trust me. Then I asked, and then what? And then I'd call everyone, either catch up or tell them I'm in a hurry to get new clients because I'm in some sort of crunch because my front end system wasn't fast enough, and ask them to sit down with me to make a list of 10 or 20 people that they wanted to introduce me to. And then what happens? And then I get to do a 3-way call with them and me. And they would do a thing called edification, which I'll talk about in another video, which basically they would tell their friend on the 3-way call why they connect with me, and kind of paved the way to make it easy for that person to make a decision pretty quickly because there was a transfer of trust from that person to the next. So first part of my system was going out, making a list of friends, connecting with people, then doing a 3-way call. And then from the 3-way call, they would enter into my conversion system. And then what happens? As you can see, the more you ask this question, and then what, and then what, and then what, you go through your entire workflow from beginning through the middle and then towards the end. And in this part, it's referring people. The middle part is the conversion. And then the end, obviously, is that they're now a client. So let's recap before we go into step 3. So we've picked one of the inputs or outputs in our business systems. So in this case, we're talking about the input into our company through referrals, through customer acquisition system. We started to pick it apart by starting and asking, and then what happens? And then step 3, we qualify this step or this segment of this process. And how we qualify it is using 3 basic questions. Oh, before I forget, the first thing that we want to do in step 3 is we have to also identify all the parts of the system that works, and we want to keep those, not throw them away or modify them, if that makes any sense. So we identify all the steps we're amazing at, work perfectly, and keep them right out. And then on a piece of paper, we write down from the system the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good. The good means that you get a yes if you ask yourself 3 questions on this segment of the system. So these are the 3 questions. Is it duplicatable? Is it measurable? Is it scalable? Is it duplicatable? Is it measurable? Is it scalable? So if you ask yourself on every part of your system, is it duplicatable? Is it scalable? And is it measurable? And you get a yes, 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 then that is the good. So keep that part of the system. The bad. Yes, only in 1 or 2 of those questions, but not all 3. So is it measurable? No. Is it duplicatable? Yes. Is it scalable? No. Then that qualifies under the bad. And then, as you will all probably have guessed, the ugly, is it measurable? No. Is it duplicatable? No. Is it scalable? No. So pro tip, I do this for every one of my systems I don't only qualify, but through those three questions, I also qualify it this way in my systems. Is it honorable? Is it simple? And is it fun? So it needs to be measurable, duplicatable, scalable, honorable, simple, and fun for my system to get the check mark to say this part of the system remains and it works well. So let me give you an example so that we're not talking theory here. My conversion process passed all 6 questions with a yes. It was honorable, simple, and fun. It was measurable because I could measure the conversion. So I would have 10 people come in and express an interest. 80% of them would say yes to me. So I knew what the conversion was. Is it duplicatable? Yes, because the conversion system I've taught to others, and then they were able to match the same type of results. Is it scalable? I've had entire sales teams run this actually conversion system. So yes, it passes all those things. So conversion process, however many steps it is perfect. I don't modify it. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Now, on the other hand, the bad, getting people to refer me. On the other hand, the bad, and the reason I call it bad, and you'll see in a second, is the getting people to refer me. Was it honorable, simple, and fun? Yes. But was it measurable? Kind of. I wouldn't say yes and I wouldn't say no, but I would say kind of. Was it duplicatable? No. It worked because of my likability, and my likability is tough to duplicate. Does that make sense? So when people would refer me, they refer me because of my likability. And then obviously my conversion system took over after a while. But because of my likability and people liked me and they built rapport with me really fast, it wasn't necessarily, it's not a duplicatable thing. I can't really pass my likability on to someone else. Does that make sense? The duplicatable part of the test was failed. Was it scalable? Kind of hard to scale 3-way introductory calls. There's only so many of me that goes around. Does that make sense? Now, can I change it and all that kind of stuff? Yes, but the way that I was doing it, not scalable, not duplicatable, kind of measurable. So I would consider that the bad. Now, the ugly part was the delivery of the service. Although it's fun, honorable, and simple, for me, it's not scalable because it's just me. It's not measurable. I can't measure whether or not it's something that I can measure the success of it on a systemic fashion. One-to-one with people I could measure, but as a system, it wasn't. It's not duplicatable because no one can serve people like I personally serve my clients. They can serve their clients the way that they would do it, but they wouldn't be able to serve it the way that I did. Now, I can fix all that, but now I'm aware of it and I can start breaking apart the process, right? So my Frankenstein system that was put together haphazardly, it wouldn't qualify as a system, even though I called it a system, customer acquisition system. So referral systems in general, unless they're systemized in a way that is measurable, duplicatable, and scalable, are not, I would consider them Frankenstein systems, are not systems that are part of a business that could be sold as an asset, if that makes any sense. Now, this system was useful, but useful for a solopreneur and her likability within a network and the people around them within their network. There's a lot of people that build pretty significant sized businesses that way. However, they can't turn around and sell them, and they can't turn around and pass them on. And so therefore, what ends up happening, it's kind of falls under the realm of it's a lifestyle business rather than a real business. So the fourth step, after you have picked one, you've broken it apart, you've filtered the parts through those questions, right? You want to make sure that you now start to put something that's duplicatable, scalable, and measurable in each part of the system that makes sense, right? And then what you want to do is that you have categorized it in a sequence of events that could be put into a checklist. A checklist is a very interesting thing. I've used checklists for a lot of different things in the corporations, companies, organizations that I've worked with over the years. And it's the beginnings of a very powerful way of galvanizing systems, culture, and a bunch of other things. However, most people don't use them. So if you imagine that you can have a checklist for everything that you do, then you can pass that checklist on to someone. And within that checklist, you could even have each task and how much time you would expect to do on to spend on it. So each checklist becomes part of a position, and then that position and the workflows within that position will be checklisted, and then that could be packaged and sent to someone else. So within an employee culture, it's easy to get a checklist for an employee and then or employee's position, and then once that checklist is there, it's stable, it works, it's been worked on, and it's a good one, then it can be passed on to other employees, and that employee can go to another one. Now, imagine all the employees having checklists and they just pass checklists to each other. We can create a pretty efficient system that way. That's in an organization with multiple employees. With yourself in the customer acquisition system that we're talking about, you break it down and you put it into a checklist and then restructure. You can then test each part of that checklist and refine, improve, change each part of it. But when you have just random ideas of random results, of random effects that nothing can be scalable, measurable, duplicatable, there's no checklist involved, then you're basically building your business by accident, especially when it's in your customer acquisition system. Checklists are easy to follow, so you don't do things haphazardly. It lets you know what steps needs to be worked on and refined. And finally, it's something that you can deploy across all your employees and departments to make your entire organization more efficient. I hope that makes sense. And I hope you don't think I've oversimplified this, because sometimes the most advanced outcomes and most scalable outcomes come in the most simplistic implementation. And this is a simple implementation, when done correctly, will completely transform your business. Now, with one checklist per position or workflow that passes the good, the bad, and the ugly test, you're on your way to converting your Frankenstein monster into something else, a creation that truly becomes alive. And this time, it's something that can be shared, sold, passed on to your loved ones. I've seen businesses transform from chaotic to streamlined success stories in a very short period of time using this methodology. I've used it from everywhere from solopreneurs all the way up to businesses that have up to 35 employees plus, right? Now it's your turn. Here's your mini action plan. Step 1, identify the system that you want to fix, scale, build, or grow. Choose the one that makes, I would choose the one that makes your business actually tick. And that one is customer acquisition. If customer acquisition is fine and it passes all that test, then go on to another one. Okay. Step 2, identify and modify the steps within the system that fail the good, bad, ugly test. Keep the good, change the others. Step 3, qualify the segment or step of your process. Step 4, create a checklist for each new and old modified step. By following this 4-step process on each of the systems, you're going to be well on your way to transforming and de-Frankensteining your business, and finally on the right track to systemizing it, purposefully measuring, modifying, and growing the systems in your business to make your business 100 times more valuable. Some of you are serious about doing this, and if you are, I want to honor you and serve you with that. So go ahead and pick out your system, start putting it together in the way that I suggest. And if you get stuck and you want help, please let me or one of my team members know. One of my advisors or myself, depending on who's got time at that time, for free, we'll take a look at this system, whether it's your potential client acquisition system, or whatever other system it is that you are looking to improve. And we'll be the third or fourth perspective on it and maybe give you some sort of insights and perspectives that you didn't have before to help it become more efficient, easier to run, and ideally more fun, more effortless, more honorable, and enjoyable. So yeah, if you're brave enough to set up a call with us, because I know that most people think that they're going to be pitched if they pick up the phone and call. We're not like that. We don't pitch. I've put a community together called the Guild of Honor, and it's all about creating business from a place of sacred transactional interchange. I believe that what we do in business is a sacred thing. It's actually an offering from God, in my opinion, to others, and we respect it as such. So when I do say, or me or my team does say that we're going to have a call with you that is no strings attached, it's absolutely no strings attached. And we will help you put this together. Hey, and some people want to move on with us and go deeper, and that's fine. We'll do that as well. But that's not what the intent of this. The intent of this is to actually help you start formalizing and systemizing and organizing your business systems so that you maybe one day can start relaxing as your business grows. In the Guild of Honor, like I said, we don't pitch, we serve. God provides the rest. So God bless. Looking forward to hearing from those of you that want to speak to me. There's a link below. Just go ahead and schedule an appointment and we'll take a look at your system after you've put it together. Talk to you next time.